Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Thank you to all of you for joining us on the programme. We're really delighted that we have an ever-growing football family just linking into us day by day, telling their mates and joining us and offering us their opinion as well. And thank you to so many of you who are so quick in coming on board and just giving us your thoughts on your favourite teams. As simple as that. So with that in mind, delighted to have Ruffy with me and Hugh MacDonald. You can tell it's a Tuesday. It's a more kind of a educational programme on a Tuesday, isn't it? Everybody, there's different categories that we have, Ruffy.
Yeah, and every time Hugh comes on, I've really got to up my game, haven't I? You know, I've got to look at different aspects of football and politics and all that kind of stuff.
Could you tell us when you're up in your game, just to give us an insight into when that is? Do you know, the funny thing is, Hugh, I have to tell you, we actually put together some, promos that we are doing for the YouTube channel, and there was a great one. There's a great one of all three of us 10 years ago.
10 years
in the studios in the radio station chatting, and he's gone out to buy a shirt, but it's a slim fit, and you're sitting there, and the three of us are just absolutely howling with laughter, and it brought back great memories. And I thought to myself, my God, you're still with us after 10 years. It's brilliant.
And now the producer Gordon, he's going to be in charge of my testimonial committee. So we'll have the testimonial this year. Yeah, 10 years, it's been astonishing.
It is, and we've had a right
look at the growth of it. Look at the growth.
It's been incredible, hasn't it, Ruffy? You know, when you laughed and cracked a joke, the studio we were in, it moved because we had those big cartoons behind us, and it moved, and now it's all changed. So, and there's lots of people who've joined us. Stuart Ramsey, as well as Stephen MacDonald, David Bradley, Kenny Whitson, who always tries to join us. He's in sunny Leith. I can't think of a better place to be. One of my first flats when I stayed in Edinburgh was Leith. You couldn't go to bed, Ruffy, until the pub across the road put the alarm on.
Is that right? It must be right above it then.
Just right across from it. You could set your watch, Great Junction Street, fight, screaming, alarm on, eventually bed.
Well, I tell you, I can beat that because I stayed very, very briefly about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, in the Beresford in Sauchiehall Street, the very Art Deco village building, and I was on the first floor, the mezzanine, and my bedroom window looked into the garage. So you can imagine what the noise was like during the night. You could wake up on a Sunday morning at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning and put a tuning fork to the wall, and you'd have got Groove Armada coming through the wall from the night before. It was astonishing. It was just like the noise in that flat.
But if you're a true person and you live in the hustle and bustle of the city, that's when you enjoy it. But Ruffy, when he joined Hibs, he was out in the outskirts with the big land and everything.
Ruffy needs the paddocks for his livestock.
The horses. Listen, outdoors and downpours. Evening, lads. Gotta love technology. I'm out camping tonight and last night, but I haven't missed the show. Cheers for the daily laughs and the football chat, which is absolutely brilliant. And again, quite a lot of people. Andrew Kerr is a Kelly fan. He says, can you talk about the championship? Andrew, we do try and fit in as much as we possibly can. We will talk about the championship because obviously Ruffy's got aspirations of his side going up to the Premier League. But I think once we look at the 3 or 4 games they've got coming up, it's definitely between Arbroath and Kelly. So,
well, tonight will be a good judge of that comment.
Okay, we'll soon find out. Yes, absolutely. I'd been invited up to Arbroath against Thistle, and I wish I could make it, Ruffy, but it was too far a trek for what I've got on tonight.
Yeah, well, this would be the first time ever that we've played Arbroath in, is it benign conditions? No wind. Nice day, and that'll suit us to get the ball down and play football.
New striker as well, you've got?
We've got a new striker for Rangers, we've got him on loan, a young Colombian boy. Let's hope he's as good as the other Colombian that Rangers have got.
So it's not Morelos then?
Not Morelos, I think it's Morelos' son who's coming.
You'll be hoping it's Morelos' son. Also, we've got one from Sweaty Kim, which is not his real name. Hugh is the voice of truth on a panel of make-believe. That is fantastic, isn't it?
I don't know if it's that good or bad.
Well, he's put a shamrock next to it, which basically means that he thinks Ruffy and I are against Celtic, which is the joy of this feed. I love reading it out. And Charlie Adams, dentist, says, "No, you don't, Peter. Just keep talking about the top division." And I love your Charlie Adams, dentist. I can't wait till the legislation comes in and everybody has to use their real name. It's going to be fantastic. I could be under pressure as well. Anyway, let's talk about football. What about Old Firm down under? I mean, this is interesting stuff because Celtic announced this morning that, Ange Postecoglou is going home with the Celtic side in the winter break with the World Cup. Celtic are going to play in a tournament with, 3 other teams. We reckon Rangers are going to be the other team, but we've had no confirmation as yet.
Oh, fantastic for the Pats in Australia. Rangers and Celtic. I think any game that they play down there will be capacity. Then we get links for the guys who listen to our show from Australia, and it'll be mega. Absolutely. I mean, we talk about everybody abroad in America, but Australia as well is as big. And it's a long way to go. Obviously they've looked into the stats of it, when they're getting back and all that carry on, but they'll make a lot of money out of it and a lot of public relations as well. Yeah,
absolutely. I think Ange Postecoglou, the Celtic boss, is well aware of the brand that is Celtic. It's well known down under.
I experienced that myself growing up in Australia, that the club has a strong affinity over there, and so for me to go back there as manager will be a special moment for me for sure, because as I said, I know how strong the connection is, so I'll take great pride in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's really looking forward to it. It just shows they may not have the spending power of the clubs, but they certainly have the brand awareness globally. And I think Rangers also going down there in a similar vein. There's expats that want to see Rangers, expats that want to see Celtic.
And football is really taking off in Australia as well. It's on the cusp of really moving from into becoming a major sport there, the soccer. I mean, their football is usually, we all know the Australian football and the rugby league, rugby union, cricket. Football, our association football used to lag seriously behind these sports.
Yeah.
But it's moving on now. It's moving up. The old soccer in Australia, and this will be good for clubs. I think the reason it makes it all very practical is the World Cup next year, Peter. They can use this for the players that are not going to go to the World Cup. They could use it for warm weather training as well, but it's a fair hike. I mean, it's not. People say, well, they go to Dubai. What's Dubai? 7 hours. This is 7 hours. You're not even a third there.
Here's the thing, and somebody will undoubtedly furnish us with the knowledge of it, but I can't remember. Has there ever been a situation where in another country you've had a Celtic Rangers match?
No, there was one. Remember, there was one mooted for America.
America, yeah, but this would be surely the first. I cannot think about it.
One of our viewers will probably know. I can't think of it.
And then after it happens, they'll start suggesting the 39th game.
Well, that. I mean, that has always been. I mean, that's still the Premier League. The guys at the top of the Premier League in England are absolutely ganting for that. That's what they want. They want a game. They want every club to play abroad because of the. I mean, that is such. The EPL is the biggest brand in football. We can argue about what the best league is to the cows come home, but the EPL is the biggest league in terms of merchandising, in terms of brand awareness, in terms of broadcasting deals, and they are desperate to shift to games abroad. The way the NFL's done with London, Peter.
Well, absolutely. I mean, listen, you're either into American football or you're not, but they're certainly making a go of it by bringing that game over to London and getting more and more people into it, Ruffy. I would love to see, and I know I've been criticised for it on our social media feed, but I would love to see Scottish football adopt a more American attitude to trying to promote this game. I would love to hire the best marketing team for the SPFL and then take it out of the hands, the control out of the hands of the individuals who are dragging it back, and then reshape and remodel the whole thing to try and really enhance it.
Well, we've saw the American owners, Aberdeen and Hibs, beginning to trying to get everybody to buy into, you know, the big screens, and they're doing the £5 to get in. You know, the owners are, and Aberdeen are doing that as well.
Big screens is not exactly a novelty, Roffy. Celtic and Rangers have had them for ages.
Yeah, but these clubs haven't. And that's what I mean. In Aberdeen, the guy, him up there, he's been tampering with kick-off times and all that. No,
Dave
the American,
Cormack.
Yes. Yeah, he's been going for like
I thought he
9
was finished
o'clock.
there, him up there.
No.
Yeah, exactly. I know. If he doesn't remember him, it's the big guy or the boys in the box. You know?
I think a club. I've already told you about our club. We've had board meetings to change things. Obviously,
You getting TV screens?
COVID came in. We're thinking about putting a canopy out the back with entertainment before the games.
Wow.
You go jazz band, not thinking. I think, you know, something that the supporters could come early. I think we know that we've got to give them more because they've put so much in. So turn up at 1 o'clock, you know, have a wee drink, listen to a band.
That's crucial. That's crucial, because the whole thing, what you want, is, and you see in any football you go abroad, particularly, I don't want to go into the views about me in German football, but particularly German football, in my experience, is German football clubs want the supporters at their stadiums as early as possible.
And I think it's right, Hugh.
So that any pennies they spend on food, drink, merchandise and everything is going in some way to the club.
Yeah.
And it's grown into a culture now that if you can go, we go to stadiums, Ali and Andy and I who go to the games, we'll be at the stadiums at least, and I'm talking about at least 2 hours before kick-off, at least 2 hours before kick-off.
The great thing about it is I can see it all now, by the way. The canopy's out there, the advert, Ruffy's standing there and he goes, come to Firhill. You can see Bell and Sebastian at 1 o'clock, and then then the Blue Nile, and then Croquet, the finals, before we go.
And then we've got just 20 minutes for a postmodern Brechtian play.
If it works, we'll try anything.
Absolutely. Come and see Romeo and Juliet done by the Firhill staff. Brilliant, can't wait for it, Ruffy. Anyway, listen, fair play to you for adopting that, because that is the way ahead. I know we like to joke about it. Here's a good one. I thought I'd read this out because every now and then I like you getting caned as well, Hugh.
Would you ever heard it?
Just a way to say, somebody said to us, Hugh is the voice of truth. As long as it doesn't involve predicting Rangers scores, you cannot hack putting them down for a win. Yes, it's an absolute disgrace for God's sake.
He got points at the weekend there.
Yeah. Did you go for a draw and you got points? Yeah, absolutely.
The reason I go in for a draw the weekend, this is interesting, I don't think many people have picked up on this either, is that, there's been a lot of comment about both Celtic and Rangers having disappointing results on the Sunday. And I really honestly think this will cause an absolute outroar. Everybody say you can play games every day of the week. There's definitely, sports science will tell you that Thursday to Sunday is not enough time to fully recover. Now, people are going to go crazy at that, but you can't get back to optimum as quickly as that. I know Celtic, it's no excuse for Celtic because they had a freshened up team, but that's why I thought Rangers could have a problem on Sunday because of the recovery time, and Gio van Bronckhorst didn't really change his team either.
Yeah, but to be fair, we're going to hear from obviously the comments of Giovanni van Bronckhorst regarding that as we look ahead to the games. You can give us your thoughts on it. Don't forget, if you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell as well, you'll get all the notifications of when we're on live, the features that we've got, special features as well, that I hope you will enjoy. Before we talk about the games, and of course VAR to talk about, just one other little thing on a legal basis, Hugh. I think it's probably one of those topics that we have to discuss that I think has implications for Celtic Football Club. But there was a judgment today that basically has allowed an independent case to be put together from a collection of people who've suffered abuse at the hands of Celtic Boys Club. It's quite a significant announcement by the judge. Obviously, for legal reasons, you have to tread very carefully on this because it's going to go to court, or a form of court that Celtic are going to have to defend their case. But it's the judge has basically said that there are a number of things that inextricably link the two together, so they're well entitled to go for their case. Yeah. I don't know the innocence or guilt on that and whether they can actually win a case, but it's a significant decision.
Absolutely, it's a really significant and important decision because it means now that the case can go to court.
Yes.
The original thing was Celtic, and the Celtic lawyers were trying to stop the process there, saying that, that there was, no case for Celtic to answer because they had no link with, no formal link with Celtic Boys Club. The judge has turned around and says, well, I'm not going to rule on anything like that, but there is no obstruction for the case to go forward. The case can go forward. And that's huge because now we know with legal disputes that there can be settlements.
Well, I think this law came into effect in 2020 that allowed a collection of people.
It's a class action, basically. So it's taken after the American class action, where a group of people can join together and move forward in a joint case. It now means that they can go to court. They can have their day in court. That there will be the claims will be looked at. The cases will be looked at, and anybody with these cases, anybody's case, just hope that some kind of healing and resolution and can be found. Yeah. That's all. That's all you hope for in these cases, because it's you're talking about real human misery,
Yeah, absolutely, Hugh. And the liability or otherwise will be determined by a court. So again, we've mentioned it. I would ask anybody on the feed to tread carefully whatever you're going to put on there about whether you think there's liability or not.
Yeah, that's a matter for courts. Courts decide that.
This is a case for courts, and we as a football station obviously like to comment on everything that's coming that's related to football. Sometimes politics gets involved in it, but we don't shirk the issues. But certainly this one is a legal case which is going to be ongoing. So if you can, if you're going to comment on it, keep a relevance of decency, because as Hugh said, there's a lot of pain for a lot of people who are bringing this case forward. Anyway, on that note, we've discussed it. VAR is a situation, Ruffy, where I think now suddenly the clubs are looking and going, wait a minute, it was 60,000, now it's close to 120,000, because they were actually contemplating, Ruffy, having the trucks individually outside each ground. But I think they want to follow the English plan, which is collectively all at one base outside the, a certain city, where they have a collection of match officials looking at the VAR, and it's now the costs are escalating, and I think, the discussions are ongoing, but they're going to have to find the money from somewhere if they want to move forward with this.
Yeah, and we all know that the clubs, apart from Rangers and Celtic, is well out with what they can afford. So somebody will have to come up with an idea, whether it's a sponsor, whether it's an entrepreneur. We've seen people giving gifts. We've saw a lot of money being raised. I think it's got to come from the SFA as well, who collect a lot of money, from various different organisations, where at the end of the day, and there's a pot in there that gets divided. They just really have to look at all the money coming in, and decide whether they can help the clubs to furnish it.
Yeah, I mean, in the broad scheme of things, if you are going to get a situation where you're going to get a reduction in the mistakes. Now, listen, you're not going to get complete elimination, because I was just about to say to you, Frank Lampard would, honestly, I don't know how you console that man. It's a stonewall penalty.
Well,
how the VAR guy misses it. But can I just say to you, Hugh, can you imagine that similar situation happened in a game with 10? We've got 10 games left here. Can you imagine that happened with a Celtic or Rangers match?
Aye, or a Celtic v Rangers match.
Oh, it's mayhem, isn't it?
I was just like, the great difficulty is this Scottish football has now got itself in a really difficult position with VAR, because they've kind of semi-embraced it. They've said, right, we kind of want it, and let's see if the sums will go. And the sums don't stack up for clubs. I'm sorry, they just don't. If you go to a chief executive of many clubs in the league and say to them, listen, you'll have to pay 120 to 150 grand a year for VAR. As I said earlier, a lot of clubs are always saying, well, I can get 2 top class strikers for 150 grand a year in wages. Yeah. For a VAR. And the real thing, the problem is, if they all decide to say, do you know what, we're not having it, it then has an impact on Scottish football reputationally, because much smaller leagues than the SPFL have it. And secondly, the referees will have no chance to develop because they'll be frozen out of Europe here.
Yeah, but see with all due respect,
this means no respect at all.
No, this is
talking a lot of hee-haw.
This is sensibility. Okay, I'll give you the sense on it. And again, it goes back to what I was talking about the attitude to marketing in Scottish football. If you're smart, you get your marketing guy right now and you say to him, listen, go out there and get £1 million sponsorship deal, and they are the sponsors of VAR. So every stadium, when the VAR decision is brought to you by bang, up it comes. On the television, the VAR decision is brought to you by bang. You could not buy that sort of publicity for £1 million that pays for it, pays for it every year for every club in the Premiership, sponsor it. So that the VAR decision is brought to you by, pays for everybody, Hugh, £1 million.
They couldn't get a league sponsor, Peter.
I know that, but they couldn't get a league sponsor because this mob couldn't run a bingo session. You know what I mean? But to be fair, they need to adopt that real ruthless American attitude, which is basically, okay, what have we got? Let's break it down. Let's then look at the collective and say, right, here's the guy who's representing us. Go out there and start chasing it down and say, right, you've got a VAR sponsor, you've got a league sponsor, you've got a Player of the Year sponsor, you've got a goal of season sponsor. That doesn't happen.
Well, this is going back to my point is essentially, if at the moment, if you're looking at clubs funding this, which is the case at the moment, I think you've got a long, hard road ahead. Because if you're talking about, a cumulative cost of anything from $1 million to $2 million a year, when the champions in sponsorship money from the league get just over $2 million. I think it's going to be really hard, and the only way out is two ways. As Alan said, an entrepreneur or the benefactor comes in and says, "I'll do it for the good of the game," or as you say, a marketing sponsorship. I think it's going to be very difficult to push the clubs over the line on this.
Yeah, you're not getting a James Anderson paying for this, Hugh. This is a 3-year, 4-year deal.
Yep,
you know
I know.
What I mean?
But I think it's
and then you offer them more than that behind the scenes. You say to them, listen, not only are you getting branding that you would never get in a million years, the exposure alone, Hugh, is massive. Right?
You go out and broker this, Peter, and take your 10%.
I could broker it, but I just end up arguing with them, because...
No, you...
I'd throw the tennis racket out. Because honestly, you'd have to come in. I'd have to go in there and try and be, reserved for the first 5 minutes. Because I have to tell you, in various meetings that I've been in the FPFL, I have just gone bang. And they look at me, because I don't know about you, but I love and admire businessmen who can double speak. Ruffy, as you know yourself, I'm Marmite. You either like me or you hate me, because I'll tell you it straight.
Yeah, I mean, but we all know that anyway. The thing, this will have to go to a vote. This will have to go to the Premiership clubs voting who wants it, who doesn't want it. No, I don't think the 42 clubs can get it.
No, they can't.
No, they can't.
Nonsense. I don't even know why they're voting for it.
No, I don't know why they're voting for it either. Because at the end of the day, it'll be the top teams that vote for it, and they can't vote for it collectively. Because it involves money, and it involves possibly taking money off them, rather than giving them money.
But I'm not expecting you to answer this, right? But just in your head, because imagine they went to the Thistle board and said, "Know what we've got? We've got VAR for next season. It's going to cost you 150 grand." I'd be very surprised if the Thistle board said, "Right, thank you very much."
Yeah, because that's a lot of money to me. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's a lot of money, and as Peter said, it's a couple of strikers or whatever, and it's money off the manager's budget thing. But I still think there is money somewhere in that SFA. There's a divvy. No, there's a divvy.
There's a dowry somewhere.
Pieces of eight. Pieces of eight.
You know what you're like? You're turning into Harrison Ford. Honestly,
at the end of the year, there's a handout. Depending where you end up in the league.
Right.
And if you look at that handout, who gets what, put that in collectively and say, right, this is what we need for VAR, and then you split it. between you, if you all want it.
But people say, well, I'd rather my
quite a lot
hand
of
out,
people on here, Hugh, saying, why doesn't PLZ sponsor VAR? How much you got in your pocket?
We could do enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ruffy's certainly got a dowry, let me tell you. Okay, just a couple of things, and then we're on to the games. Quick one is the war in Ukraine goes on. Lots of worrying and harrowing pictures coming out of Ukraine. The playoff for Scotland, I think there's a 2-week wait before we actually know if this is going to go ahead. And it's an ever-developing picture of misery for the Ukrainian people.
Oh, it's just unspeakable. I mean, the old cliche is that, sport doesn't matter at these times, and of course it doesn't. I mean, it's a pimple in the whole face of what we've got to confront at the moment. I think you just hold some kind of holding position and you let people try and resolve the huge issues of this. A World Cup playoff, we know it's important. We're all football people, but in the grand scheme of things, matters little. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's the right move that Russian football clubs, the national team, they're suspended from all competition. I think UEFA, has severed the rights with Gazprom as well, and the sponsorship is a considerable amount of money, but I think that pales into insignificance when you think of the plight of the Ukrainian people.
Yeah, I think they obviously listened to you in the show the other day saying they were dragging their heels, so after you'd said that, they obviously came to their senses, and it's the right thing to do. You just have to pick up the papers this morning and look at the photographs. It's horrendous, absolutely horrendous, but the positive thing is that everybody else in Europe is going in the right direction. Whether that can help, you would like to think it would. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of people here talking about, there's lots of people on the Russian side who don't want this to happen.
Absolutely.
We do know, because quite simply, a lot of the Russian people are not getting the real story of what's happening. It's driven by someone that you can make your own determination on, the Russian leader. But we have great sympathy for the Ukrainian people, and of course the Ukrainian sports people, who obviously are going to find it very, very difficult. You only have to look at the game at the weekend, Man City and Everton, Zinchenko, really upset. You could see the tears in his eyes.
Yeah, and it's really quite. The last international match I was at was Ukraine at Hampden. That was the last one I was physically at when they played Sweden, and it was a reduced attendance, and we were up the Ukraine end, for want of a better word, and the passion and the reduced attendance and what football meant to them, and Shevchenko coming over. I know he's no longer Ukrainian manager, but Shevchenko coming over and clapping the fans, and there was a real buzz about the team, a real feel-good factor about the team, and of course the real world and the real brutal world is intruded, and Peter, I think, I would hope to be, massively wrong, but I don't think this is going to be a short-term thing, this as well. I think there's a lot of, and it gives me no joy in saying, I think there's going to be a lot of heartache and loss before this is settled, and before we even get to any point where we can consider football.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've said our piece on a number of issues. You always get an opinion. We try and talk about football as much as we can without having politics, events around the globe, but it does have an impact. You can't keep it out of sport. So thank you to so many of you for posting sensible messages on it, because it is, like so many other subjects we've discussed on this programme today, very delicate. And I think the great thing about the people who are retweeting the programme and telling everybody when it's on, and sharing it and joining the football family. We're so delighted that you're joining us, because we've got a team of pundits that we like to bring on. I think a lot of people, have expressed the fact that they like the pundits we have on. We have special guests, we have one-to-ones, and thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us. There are some people that you don't like on the panel, but that's great, because we're thick enough skinned, Ruffy. You can take it in the neck, can't we?
I don't read any of the stuff, so.
Do you not?
No,
do you not?
I can't.
Sometimes if it comes up, you're all right though, because everybody likes you, Ruffy. I've yet to read one that says Ruffy's just a big dumpling. I don't like him, and he talks a lot of nonsense.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's my wife. She's said that. I told her to post that. But other than that, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about opinions, and we like a bit of banter Twitter too. Celtic against St Mirren. Ange says Giacomakis is 50-50. Still 10 games to go. He says things can change very quickly. So they're coming up against the St Mirren side, Ruffy, with 1 defeat in 9. That was, of course, they lost to Hearts at the weekend. But it looks as if Eamon Brophy is on the way back. Got a wee bit of action at the weekend, and it'd be nice to see him making an impact for St Mirren as well. They need somebody up front too, with Conor Ronan, who's been brilliant for them.
Yeah,
he's
suspended, and obviously that hit them at the weekend there. I think the Hearts win flattered them a wee bit because it was 10 men. But they're going to go to Parkhead, and to be honest, really, Celtic need to find their groove where they were a month ago.
Yeah.
You know, and
do you think it's been as long as a month when they've been out of the groove?
Yeah, I mean, initially, you know, they'd all the new players come in and they lit up the whole of Scottish football. But I give credit to the other teams and the managers who have obviously sussed out a way to stop what they were a month ago. You know, and they've identified that Celtic's biggest players get the ball out wide and fire balls in. You know, and that's generally where most of the goals come from. But now they've actively stopping that delivery, that quality delivery that they had, and they've just set the stall out, and Celtic are struggling. Yeah,
can I just say something to you, Ruffy? And obviously I've got to try and get a sense of perspective and balance on this one. You know, Bodo Glimt apart, they're 3 points ahead in the table, and everybody thinks that Celtic and Rangers are never going to drop points, but they do.
I think, I've said it all along, I think they'll drop points away from home. I think because away from home, the Hearts, the Hibs, the Aberdeens will give them a game, as they've proved. I mean, Aberdeen have taken Celtic and Rangers, you know, to task. And I think that will continue. So I know you're saying there's not very many games to go, but I don't think either of the two of them will lose at home.
They'll win all the way.
I think they'll win all the way at home. I think they're too strong for all the other teams. They might drop a point, but I can't see them dropping 3 points.
Yeah. Hugh, do you agree with that or disagree with it?
Well, I can see them dropping points at home because it happened on Sunday. I think you know, coming back from Europe, I know it was a home game, but that Europe in the Thursday against Dortmund, I think, impacted on them, on Rangers, and Celtic. You got to remember, Celtic were minutes away, or a minute away from dropping points at home to Dundee. Yeah, I think there's two issues. I think the first issue is that teams will be sitting very deep against them. And that gives you, you know, they'll be sitting in, so it'll be hard to break through, and they'll be breaking. We know that, and they've got a puncher's. All teams have got a puncher's chance at that. I don't on Celtic and Rangers from the Christmas break onwards. It's been, apart from that very brief sort of Celtic firelit stuff, you know, away to Hibs, home to Rangers. Every game has been a challenge. Yes. And it has for Rangers. You just have a look at Rangers are talking about winning, you know, 3 Premier League games since Christmas. Every game's a challenge now, and it gets worse or more challenging the nearer it comes to a title, because people constrict. People constrict. I can see them dropping points, you know, I really can. I was in Alan's camp at one point, and I thought the Celtic Rangers games would be completely and utterly decisive. But we've noticed in the last month or so, Peter, okay, Celtic, that was a decisive game, but Rangers have lost points to other teams as well. Yeah, absolutely.
I think my point is 3 points. I don't think they'll get beat at home. They might lose points, but I don't think they'll lose 3 points at home. Yeah, so you change your position. No, that is I don't think I made myself clear. They could get draws, but I don't think anybody's capable enough to go to them and take 3 points.
Okay, not even Celtic?
Yeah, they take 3 points, and Rangers will take 3 points at there. But
no, that's what I'm saying.
Rangers and Celtic.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to clarify it from you. I'm not contesting what you're saying. I just want clarification so we can throw it in your face 2 weeks from now. Anyway, apart from anything else, that's Celtic against St Mirren. St Johnstone against Rangers. God, the goalkeeper's come in for a fair bit of criticism. You know, and from the home camp, Rangers fans jumping on Alan McGregor as if it's time for him to go. I mean, we all know he's going to go in the summer anyway. Yeah. But I think the criticism was a bit rich.
But the criticism gets heightened because of results. Yeah. This is the, and you can understand it because fans on both sides of that divide are really animated at the moment. There's a title on the line. Everything is getting, you can,
everybody gets it in the neck.
Well, you see Van Bronckhorst, will get it for, maybe having only one substitute against Motherwell. I think he only brought on Kemar Roof. Whereas on the Thursday, he's a tactical genius for switching at half-time, going to a back three. It was very volatile at the moment, and I don't criticise supporters for that, Pierre. Because that's what supporters are. They're volatile. They're looking at things and they're going, why did we lose 2 points on Sunday? And to be fair, I don't know, the first goal, he probably should get the ball. It's going across the 6-yard box. But getting beaten, I know they say that that's a cliche, getting beaten, but he was beaten kind of easily at the post for the second. I don't know how you felt.
But to be perfectly honest, I didn't think there was a gap to get through there in the first place. It wasn't as if he left a big area. He's hit it, and the boy, I don't even know if the boy really meant to hit it into that gap. So there's things you've got to take into consideration. You would think the shot would be across. You're not going to go and try that wee gap. So no, but he'll be disappointed. Any goalkeeper's disappointed if you lose a goal in there. I mean, everybody goes, oh, it's your near post, you've got to do something about it. But you don't need to tell Alan McGregor that. But to single him out, I find that astounding. They're talking about individual mistakes, like cross at Hearts and that there and that there. God, if you did that with every player, outfield player, you have a list about that size, all the mistakes that they've made.
Well, it's interesting you pointing that out, because Giovanni Van Bronckhorst speaking today, this is what he had to say ahead of the game. When you analyse goals against, players will get the blame, but we have to take responsibility as a team, and for me as a coach. We win, draw and lose as a team. Mistakes can happen, but you have to overcome them and move forward. And I think from that, he also went on to say our results need to be perfect from now on in the last 10 games. Now, a quick update on some of the players that are available or not for the St Johnstone Rangers game. Ramsey, Stephen Davis, Ahmed Diallo, Ryan Jack and Philip Hollander not available for this one, and probably Ramsey not going to be available for the weekend either. He says, I don't have a clear timeline on him. Hopefully he can join the team very soon. Of course, we wanted him to be involved more than he is now, but that's football. And he's obviously talking about we've got to score from our chances, and we've got to be more ruthless. We have to defend better. So the manager knows exactly what the script is, but quite simply, I think they will drop points elsewhere as well. You only have to look at Saturday. Suddenly, James Tavernier said today that they didn't, they weren't paying, it had no impact on them that Celtic had dropped points. But subconsciously, you look and you think, oof,
go again.
There you are, go again. You're 2-0 up, and you're thinking, we're going to cut this to 1 point.
And they're coming on the crest of a really terrific European result. I mean, an outstanding European result and performance.
Yeah.
So they're right. And if you watch the game and look at the stats as well, overwhelming, particularly in the first half. Motherwell went about their business in the second half. Crucial time to go 2-1. 2-1's the score that suddenly you go, wait a wee minute here, and that's what happened. Things. I mean, we go on about McGregor, and I certainly didn't think he was perfect at either goal. But Rangers lost the ball very poorly, particularly for the second goal. It was poor pass out of defence, poor challenge for a second ball. So it's a team game.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronnie says, Peter, Alan McGregor has been brilliant for Rangers, but he's been slack with certain balls and those bouncing off his leg, which have led to goals. Saying that, he's still number one in my book. Yeah, absolutely. Keepers do get, real criticism, especially as Hugh says, when it gets down to the real pressure point, when you've got 10 games left, everything is overanalyzed, scrutinised under a microscope, No,
Hugh's made a fair point there, when things go against what you're expecting, you have to blame somebody, and unfortunately the 2 goals and it's Alan McGregor. But if you would really sit down and analyse it, what were Golson and Tavernier doing, what was the boy out wide doing, you could do that. So you can't just say it's Alan McGregor.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Ryan Taylor has said, hello lads, I'm late to the show. Well, don't worry about it. You're part of the football family now, Ryan. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and you can join the trips. We have got a great group of people, Ryan, who are part of the family, who enjoy the show Monday to Friday. And quite simply, I think you'll find 99% of them are all of sane mind. Just that 1%, Hugh. We can put up with them.
And Ryan, all we need is a PDF of a letter from your mum explaining why you're late.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as simple as that.
I can watch it later.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the good thing is, Ruffy, what's happening now is we've got huge amounts of people downloading the PLZ Soccer app as well, because you get all the latest breaking football news, and you can watch, Hugh, as you can see right now.
I know, live.
You can watch the whole show live, so it doesn't get any better than that. And if you miss it, it's on there in the archive as well. That's good, Ruffy, isn't it?
Brilliant, because you miss all the good points.
Yeah.
Orion will have missed all the good points I've made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
remember the show's been on. Remember the show's been on for 10 years, Ryan. We're still trying to write down his good points. Anyway, apart from that, we've discussed. Did we give a prediction? Because we haven't put them in yet. You haven't put your predictions in yet. You're playing that usual game.
Early, is it? No. It's not early.
Hugh's not going to be on tomorrow. So, Celtic against St Mirren.
Celtic against St Mirren, 2-0 Celtic. 2-0
Celtic. Yeah, yes. I think it's going to be 3-0 Celtic. What about yourself, Hugh?
I'm not sure, but I think Celtic will win. Yeah, I think they'll win by a couple. I think they'll win. I think they'll have to get back on some kind of track, and I think tomorrow might be the one to do it.
I'm going to go St Johnstone 1, Rangers 2.
Oh, interesting. I don't think St Johnstone will score.
Yeah.
And I think Rangers will just nick it. I think it's a tough. I think every match now, particularly away from home, I take Ruffy's point in that. It's tough, you know, and St Johnstone fighting for their lives, but I think Rangers have the quality to win there.
Yeah, what did you go, Ruffy, for this one?
Well, I don't think St Johnstone will score either. And I think if Rangers...
Don't think they'll score?
No, and I think if Rangers create the same amount of chances they did against Motherwell in the first half, they'll win 2-0.
Yeah, they've only had one defeat in the last 3, so you can see that they're starting to get something together, St Johnstone, but 2-0.
Who against? Who against?
Well, they lost to Ross County, obviously. They get a win over Hearts and they get a draw against Aberdeen. I mean, yeah, you were waiting for me to say a lower club and it didn't actually stack up for you. And Ryan, if you're late to the show, that's what you're getting, right? It's as simple as that, Ryan. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let's move on. I love it when suddenly it just gets a custard pie. You know, that's him. He's gone. The case fresh, Your Honour. Okay, so we move on to Hearts against Aberdeen. Now, I'm going to say this to you. We've had a situation where we had Greg McEwen on yesterday from Hibs, the commercial director, who mentioned the great work for a fiver for Hibs fans to get in to see St Johnstone, a sellout at the weekend, which is brilliant. And Hearts against Aberdeen. Hearts supporters have joined forces with the club to provide free tickets for the underprivileged fans for every remaining home game this season. Now, I don't know about you, Hugh, that's great.
That's great. That's what the spirit of football should be about.
Yeah.
It's what Hearts, the Sports Federation should be about as well, so good on them.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think more of that, and we should, when it happens, and I try to get round as many of the clubs as possible to try and highlight these initiatives. That's great, Ruffy.
Well, you've got to look at the future. You've got to look at who's coming through the gate in 10 years' time, and it's probably dads bringing their kids along. So I think you should be encouraged to bring families to the game. We're all talking about we should be giving more to the game, and I think it should be a family occasion. And it's the young kids who are going to be there in 10, 15 years' time. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, what about the Dundee Dons? I can see a bit of fight. Okay, it was a 1-1 against Dundee Utd at the weekend, but still no wins in 8. Last 3 games have been draws.
Who have they played?
Before
I give it.
Listen, Jim Goodwin is obviously, I think he'll put a bit of bite into them as well.
Yeah, I think if St Mirren had 11 men on the park, that would have been harder for Hibs. So I'm going to stick my neck out in this one and say I think Aberdeen are fighting for the manager, and I think they're good enough to get a draw. Yeah. And I'm going to go 1 each.
1 each between Hearts and Aberdeen. Yeah, okay, I just thought I'd correct you there. 2 wins in the last 3 for Hearts. One of them was a cup win in penalties, obviously. But they got the win over Saints, as Ruffy highlighted, against 10 men. But still, the boy Smith seems to be doing a good job for the Jambos.
Yep, I'm going to agree with Ruffy though.
Yeah.
Which is stunning a development. I think I agree with Hugh, because I think what's going to happen with Aberdeen, particularly as Jim Goodwin's had another week with them, I think they're going to be very much more organised defensively. I think their set up tactically will be covering areas where Jim will think they're weak, maybe central defence, and get very, holding midfielders.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing he wants to do with them is not lose games, because that's where they start with, and I think it'll be a draw as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if slowly but surely Jim says, right, okay, to try and not lose games, we're going to sit with two holding midfielders, which is McCrory and Brown, and Brown is his enforcer. I think he is the perfect person for a Jim Goodwin management.
Yep.
Which is Brown in there to just say, right,
I think perfect. That's exactly the point I was making. I think it'll be 4-2-3-1, Ramirez up front, two holders, and the back four will be, I bet you the back four has really been rigorously coached at the moment in terms of movement, in terms of coming out, in terms of cross balls. So I think it could be a draw.
Is it fair? I mean, he's come out and defended them. Now, here's my take on it, and forgive me for being cynical, Ruffy. Jim Goodwin's come out and defended Declan Gallagher and David Bates and said, look, the criticism's over the top here about it all for the two central defenders, but I'll tell you right now, he's protecting them, because for me, Jim Goodwin will change that back line, and I think the two centre halves could be one of them could be in the firing line.
Yeah, well, he's not got any options just now, so he's got to talk them up. He's got to say, look, you're the guys in the position, you're the guys that are going to get us out of this, and try and give them a wee bit of confidence. But I think that's one of the main reasons he's stopped Scott Brown from coaching. Yeah. I think he said to him, look, I want you on that park. I want you 100% focused on just playing football, because you're the guy that could get us out of this.
Right, okay. So have you gone for a draw?
Yep.
You? Draw as well. Okay. I'm going to go for Hearts to win 2-1. I still think there's problems in the back line for Aberdeen, and it's at Tynecastle, which is one of the best stadiums in the country. Motherwell against Ross County. The one thing that I think everybody's sniffing about at the moment is saying either he's down south or somebody up here is going to have to move quickly to get Regan Charles Cook, because he scored 13 goals. Malky was saying today that obviously he's got work to do, not only with Charles Cook but other players that he wants to try and get signed. But listen, this boy has been good for him. He's
been absolutely spectacular for him. I mean, frankly, I was surprised nobody came in from him during the break. You know, I mean, I think when he says he's got work to do with them, I think the work. Sorry to say this, Ross County supporters, the work might be in vain, because there's a few clubs sniffing about at the moment, and money will talk.
Even the boy
Humbo's good. Yeah. What the great thing about what Malky's done up there, Malky Mackay's done up there, is that it's slowly, and he's, no, when I say slowly, in the first few games he had to find a style, and they were down at the bottom. But he's actually based their sort of recovery and their possible survival and quite enterprising football. You know, he's not said we're parking 10 men behind, we'll get a draw here, try to win the odd game at home. There's goals in that team. When we've said before, at that end of the table, if you've got goals in the team, you've always got a chance. That was a huge one for them at the weekend. That was an absolutely huge one at the weekend. I don't think they'll be anywhere near the bottom two places, and I think they could beat Motherwell tomorrow night.
Yeah, Ruffy, what's your take on this?
I'm impressed with them at home. Away from home, I'm not as convinced. You know, they're as strong, but they're certainly the two players you're talking about are the ones that can hurt you. I think Motherwell have got to take the confidence for the Ibrox game, and I think I'm going to go for Motherwell, just a narrowly win 2-1.
Yeah, home side unbeaten in 3. Obviously got that good draw against Rangers, but 1 defeat and 6 for County. This has got the makings of a belter of a game. In fact, so much so that I'm going to it, Ruffy. Cool. There you are, Motherwell against Ross County. Yeah. It's a tough one to call, but I think it could be a 2-2 draw.
I might sneak County for a win.
Yeah, yep. Joseph Hungbo is his name. I know everybody calls him Hungbo and they don't give him his full title, but I thought I need to go and check his first name.
Research. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about, to be honest with you.
Luffy, I learned that from Luffy.
Yeah, absolutely. The big boy up front.
I usually just call him Joe.
Do you? Yeah. Joey. Of course you do, Ruffy. I know that's why we're trying to keep Ryan, get him to subscribe. You know, you can't buy this sort of stuff. Do you remember the early days.
Oh.
I mean, that look of just disbelief. It was just fantastic. Before he was with he who shall not be mentioned, we got him on board. We battered him into shape, didn't we?
Murder he wrote in the middle of the middle of Stirling.
Yeah, absolutely. Livingston against Dundee United, 5 wins and 10, 2 draws for Livy. Hey, listen, they hammered Dundee at the weekend, Ruffy.
They did, and home advantage. I think they're playing well. I think Anderson's playing well. I think they're all playing well.
Yeah,
they're playing an awful lot. Pittman, them all.
Yeah.
They've not got a flaw. And
I love David Martindale's line. He says Alan Forrest is too big for Dundee United. Great line, isn't it? By the way, that's him trying to get more money.
Exactly. But the thing about it was, I mean, if you look at the press conferences before, I mean, he'd actually said to James, they're in for him, and it's James. Alan, they're in for you. Do you want to, that kind of thing? And Alan Forrest's credit said, no, I want to stay here. I'll decide my fate in the summer. And by goodness,
well, he's free in the summer.
That's what I'm saying. I'll decide my fate in the summer. And hey, he's going the right way about deciding his fate, isn't he? He's looking really sharp and quick and dangerous. I'm like Alan. I think. By the way,
you're nothing like Alan.
In the sense of, I don't know what you did, Alan, with the relegation, but I thought Livingston would be relegated simply because of their budget. And I thought last season was a bit of a flash in the pan, and they would go down. Reality would bite.
Livingston could be top 6, Hugh, this season.
And it would be deserved to be. I'm completely and utterly wrong.
Yeah. Ruffy, I got them wrong. I had them to be relegated.
I'm still hanging on to Ross County.
What?
I'm probably wrong, but I just get a feel. I don't know why, but I don't think Dundee are going on any kind of run. You've got to expect St Johnstone to get their act together a wee bit. But the point is, Ross County are beating all these teams that run about them. That's why they're getting away for them.
That's what I was saying. Beating St Johnstone weekend's huge.
You still think Ross County are going down?
No, I think they'll be in the playoff.
No chance.
No, I don't see it.
Can't see that. You can see it sometimes if you look at players that are not in their team that are not good enough. He's just got a bee in his bonnet about something. He's fallen out with Roy McGregor about something. He's not told us. There's a journal and a story to chase there.
He's probably because he's not in the Ross County Hall of Fame.
Yes. That's a very good point.
It's only Hall of Fame in Scotland.
He's not in. Yeah, absolutely. Dundee United, unbeaten 6. It was a good draw to Tawdry.
No,
you're not having
it. Dundee are now falling into my folder of
United.
What's his name? Tam. Is it Tam?
Tam Coach. Tam Coach.
I can't hack his after the game comments. He paints a picture that I don't see during the game.
Hold on a minute. Every manager paints a picture.
But he's getting draws and he's getting this, and he tells us we could have won that. And you're going, what?
Hold on a minute. You've been in here for the full year going, you'll never believe Thistle. We battered them out.
We do.
Oh, well, all the managers are telling lies.
I've seen his game.
Yeah.
I've seen his game against us when they beat us 1-0, and we pummeled them.
Yeah.
And he came out after the game and went, well, it's one of these games we could have won it. And again, let's just go.
I must admit, Ange Postecoglou came into the press conference at the weekend and painted a picture of a game that I didn't watch.
Well, I don't mind that, Pierre, because I used to remember, you'll remember this as well, Gordon Strachan.
Oh, he was a master at it.
He'd come in and he'd say, and you'd go, we'd all, we're this and we're this and that. And then he had his players so drilled that you would get the player in after Gordon with Gary Caldwell, and he would come in and he'd be telling the same story. And it's a game.
Yeah.
The message they want out there is their message. They're using media. Fair enough.
Livingston to win 2-1.
Livingston to win, aye.
Yeah,
Livingston for me.
Yeah, okay. Listen, that's us basically talked about every game. Couple of things, one thing to finish out just before, got to get your thoughts on it, Hugh. David Goodwillie's rejoined Clyde from Wraith Rovers. Now, forgive me for this, but Clyde have obviously had David Goodwillie before, and I'm trying to put this across in the most sensible way. Are we going to get a level of consistency here? Are they all going to be continuing to be up in arms because he's playing back at the club where he originally played?
I don't think so.
Neither do I.
I think that we. we said this was going to happen. This is where the wheel would just turn the circle. It made sense, footballing sense and sporting sense, and certainly financial sense for the parties all involved.
Yes.
And usually it's when financial senses or financial imperatives are put on the table, that's what plays out. Not a surprise at all that he's back, and there will not be the outcry that greeted his move to Raith Rovers.
Ruffy, he wants to play football. Yeah. Some people think he shouldn't be allowed to play football. He's gone back to Clyde. So
yeah, I'll be interested if there is any. I know I appreciate what Hugh's saying there. It'll be interesting to see with the hysteria that went round about it, if there is anything coming out of Clyde supporters or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it would, I don't know. To be perfectly honest, I don't really want to comment on it.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Wow, you've spoken like a true director, eh? 10 years and suddenly he's releasing press statements. I don't want to comment on it. I've seen it all in this programme.
See some weeks, Peter, could I just come on and not comment on anything?
Aye, absolutely.
Just enjoy the crack.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that possible?
Well,
can I have that into my contract?
10 years with him, and that's...
I just don't want to comment.
It's just unbelievable, isn't
I want to comment football show,
yeah.
But I don't want to comment.
Aye, absolutely.
It's like that's what he did with Zico. I don't want to save that.
Remember,
I'm a goalkeeper. I don't want to say
that. Can I just say something? No player is bigger than the club. Oh, there you are. We've had
moves afoot.
We've had badge kissers. What happened to the badge kisser? Boom! Right out the door, Hugh. No player is bigger than the club. Is that fair? Oh, we've been there before.
I just, as a director of a football club, I shouldn't be commenting on another club.
Are you a director of a? Are you back in?
Yeah,
you're just an ambassador.
No, he's back in there now.
Well, my paint's getting taken down.
Is it? Yeah. No wonder, it doesn't look like you.
Refurbishing.
Oh, they're putting it back up? That's a mistake.
Don't know where it'll be, but...
we need to get somebody else. The one I gave you is even better. But nevertheless, listen, if you enjoy the show, you enjoy the crack, you enjoy the comments and the opinion, you might not enjoy all the opinion, but nevertheless, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button, and you can hit the bell as well. You'll get all the notifications. If you download the app, listen, you've got all the football breaking stories at your fingertips. We'd love you to do that. Thousands and thousands of people are doing it. We're delighted that they're joining the football family. We're going to give away an iPad this week, so there's a competition. You could win it. You can also follow us on Facebook. We've got the website as well. It's all covered for you on football. Tomorrow we'll look in greater detail at the games. We'll give you more and more managers and players talking about the matches tomorrow night. And on the show we'll have Tam McManus. We won't have Charlie Adam because he'll be playing, Ruffy.
Yes.
So we will have Richard Foster, who's back in here. And I think the big question is, Ruffy, what about the gear? I mean, honestly, the gear is incredible. I mean, he's just got a wardrobe.
The baseball boots, is it Michael Johnson?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Baseball boots. I mean,
and you, they're not baseball boots. They're basketball.
For me and you, well out of our league. No. Well, I'm quite happy with my Skechers.
Well, and Hugh's happy with his Adidas Sambas. I spotted them coming in. I thought, Adidas Sambas. Thank you, Hugh.
I'm glad I never saw them, but that puts me into shiver. Why does it put me into shiver? Because that's what I had to wear that day when Andy Ritchie played at Capello with the frozen ground.
You had Adidas Sambas on?
We all had to go into Grieve Sports and buy 13 pairs of Adidas Sambas to play on that park because the studs couldn't go in.
And for Ryan, who was late to the show, by the way, he says he's subscribed anyway, it was just that he missed the 4 o'clock start. Ryan, get onto YouTube, just put in Andy Ritchie, Alan Ruff, Morton against Partick Thistle. Check and see if Ruffy's wearing his Adidas Sambas, but then watch the genius that is Andy Ritchie curling one on the worst pitch you've ever seen in your life.
Did you see the Andy Ritchie Aberdeen goal?
Yes.
Tam posted?
Yes. He's different. Andy Ritchie was a genius. Absolutely.
I mean, Andy Ritchie is one of the great stories of Scottish football, you know, like winning the Player of the Year after, you know, going along to the hotel after doing a shift on the tar.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And winning Player of the Year. Being a scout for Celtic and helping spot some of the big names that came to Celtic.
He knows a player.
He knows a player, and he also knows a manager. I saw a picture on social media the other day that with him with Dr. Joseph Vengelos as well, you know. Yeah. And he's also, Andy Ritchie, just to cap it all off, he's actually a really good, nice guy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's also a Morton legend. Wow. Brilliant lad. Couldn't think of a better guy you'd want a wee night out with. Andy's chat is brilliant. But if you do get on YouTube, just pick up some of the classics from Andy Ritchie, and all on a park that most of the modern day footballers would be moaning about now. That's how good his skill was. Listen, it's a joy as ever. I love having Hugh with us. It's back to the old days, Ruffy, when he kept us sane on the programme. He's been here with us for 10 years. So from Ruffy, from Hugh MacDonald, from myself, Peter Martin, hit the subscribe button. Join us tomorrow as we get ready for a full card of Scottish Premiership fixtures. Thanks for watching.